Hello everyone. So in this video, we'll be looking at a new lesson. Already in another previous video, we have almost learned something similar to this. So what we are going to learn today is solving equations by adding or subtracting. Now already we know the difference between an equation and an expression. An expression does not have equal sign, but an equation does. But what does this equal sign do? That's what we are going to be looking into this in this lesson. Okay, so these are the vocabulary words you have: equation and the solution of an equation. Now what is an equation? Equation is a mathematical statement. It's a sentence that states two expressions are equal. So what does that mean? We know that expressions don't have equal sign, right? An equation is what makes two expressions equal. So that's why we put the equal sign and make both the sides of our expressions equal. You will learn about it later when we do the questions. And then what is the solution of an equation? It is the value of the variable that makes the equation true. So the value of the letter which stands for which makes the equation true. That is the solution of an equation. So let's move on and see what is one of the very important part when we are solving equations. When you want to find the solution for an equation, what is the very important part? And this is very, very, very important when you're solving an equation. The inverse operation. Inverse operation means the opposite operation. Okay, for example, what is the opposite of up? Down, right? But it's the opposite of big, small. Same like that in math also, we have the opposites of operations. Means the opposite of addition is subtraction, and the opposite of subtraction is addition. Similarly, the opposite of multiplication is division, the opposite of division is multiplication. You will also learn those later, but for this lesson we only need these two inverse operations. You have to remember the opposite of addition is subtraction, opposite of subtraction is addition. Inverse means the opposite. In normal words, in easy English, it's opposite, but we say them as inverse operations. So this is very, very, very important. You have to keep in mind. Okay, if you have a copybook and a pencil, you can just note it down so that when you're solving equations, it will be easy for you to just look at it. Fine. Now let's move on and see how are we going to solve an equation, or how are we going to find the solution of an equation. Now this says solve the equation and also check the answer. So we have to solve, we have to find the value of the variable, as well as we are going to check the answer, that is the amount of variable, the value for the variable we got is correct or not. Okay, now the equation is y minus 8 equals 24. Okay, now this is one part of the equation. You can see the equal sign. This is one part of one expression. Y minus 8 is one expression and 24 is another expression. So equal sign makes both of them equal. But how are we going to make it equal? Now without solving, if I ask you, what number minus 8 gives you 24? Which number minus 8 gives you 24? All of you will say that it is 32. 32 minus 8 is 24. If you are very good in mental math, you will realize that there is 32 here. So 32 minus 8 is 24. But this is math. Everything needs step, and there is a proper system of doing everything. Okay, you cannot just say the answer just came like that. We have to show how the answer, how we got the answer. So this is what we are going to do. All what you need to do is move the number to the other side, that is bring the numbers together so that we can isolate y, we can keep y alone, because we have to find the value of y here. So to find the value of y, keep y alone and move the number to the other side. So which number is with y? It is 8, but as we already know, the negative sign belongs to the 8, right? So we are going to move it to the other side of the equation. That is, the negative 8 will move with 24. So when it moves with 24, what will happen is the opposite, the inverse happens. So what is the opposite of negative minus 8? Minus 8 and negative 8 is the same. We will be using the same words. If I say negative 8 means it is minus 8. Okay. So minus 8 becomes plus 8. because when the number changes the side of the equation, it changes the sign too. Or simply you can see it's -8, so the opposite of -8 is +8. So you add 8 to this side. Okay, so 24, you cancel this 8 and add 8 to this side. So 24 plus 8 will give you 32. This is how you solve an equation. For a quick review, let me explain again how it is done. We have y minus 8 equals 24. We have to find the value of y. So to find the value of y, we have to keep the y alone. So to keep the y alone, what we need to do? We need to move the number to the other side of the equation. So it is -8 or -8. So when it comes to the other side, the inverse happens, the opposite. So we have 24 plus 8, it becomes 32. Now, what if there was +8 here? Then what happens when it changes the side? It will become -8. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. Now they said check your answer. So let's check the answer. This is how you check your answer. You have to draw a table like this, a straight line and a standing line, and write the question up. Okay, on top of the table. So the question was y minus 8 equals 24. So you just write it up here. Okay, now think this equal sign is this line. Okay, this equal sign is this line. So this side of the equation we have y minus 8. So what's the value of y we got? We got 32 minus 8. Then equal to 24 is already on that side. Now we have to see if we solve this, are we going to get 24? If we do 38, 2 minus 8, is that 24? Think, is it 24? Yes, it is 24. So which means both sides of our equation is correct. 32 minus 8 is also 24 and 24 is already on this side. So 24 and 24, that means the answer we found was correct. So to make it more clear, let's do another example. Okay, so this time we have a fraction. 5/16 equals z minus 7/16. Hold on, don't worry, we are just going to add fractions, that's all. Okay, now we are going to find the value of z, right? So to find the value, what do? We have to keep z alone, only then we can find the value. Okay, so z, what do we do with this number which is with z? We move it to the other side, right? So what happens when you move the number which is with z to the other side? What will happen? Something happens to it when it changes the sign, just like us. When we move to a new house, of course, we don't feel comfortable, right? So same like that, when this number which is with z moves to the other side, it becomes inverse. So the inverse of -7/16 is +7/16. So now, as we know, we can add the fractions. The numerators only you'll be adding as the denominators are same. Now these rules of fractions already we know at this level, right? So 5 plus 7 will give us 12 and the 16 remains 16. Keep in mind, if the denominators are same, we don't add them, we just keep them the same. So now your answer for z is 12/16 is equal to z. So the value of z is 12/16, which means if you write here 12/16, you will have to get the answer as 5/6. But wait, we have to do one more thing. You can say it is 12 and 16 and it is not right. We have to simplify it. Now, how do you simplify? You have to find a number with which you can divide both of the numerator and the denominator. Now, which number is with which number you can divide the numerator and denominator? With 4. So 4 divided by 12 is 3. 4 divided by 16 is 4. This is the perfect answer for the value of z. Okay, because we have to simplify. It's nothing wrong if you leave it 12/16, but it's not okay, because if the question says simplify, you have to simplify. So simplify means you find a number with which you can divide both of them. So that number is 4. So you divide with 4. 12 divided by 4 will give you 3. 16 divided by 4 will give you 4. So the value of z is 3/4. Now let's go on and check. So what do you do for check? Draw the table. It's a table, a straight line and a standing line. Write the question on top. Now, 5/16 is already here. equal, that's what I told, just imagine this line is equal 12 over 16. Now to check, use the one without simplifying, because that will make our calculations much more easier. Okay, even if we use this 3 over 4, we have to change it back to 12 over 16 again. So use the one without simplifying, that is the value of z is 12 over 16 minus 7 over 16. Do you think if you solve this, your answer will be the same as the other side of the equation? Let's see, 12 minus 7 is going to give you a 5, and then denominator is going to be 16. So which means 12 over 16 minus 7 over 16 is also going to be 5 over 16. So 5 over 16 equals 5 over 16, which means both sides of the equation are equal. And now, you might be confused, but no, the more you solve the questions, the more you will learn how to solve them perfectly. Okay, now let's move on and check one more example. Now this time the example is going to be a decimal one. Okay, now the steps are going to be same, but only you have to be careful when you're subtracting or adding the decimals. As you know, you have to place the decimal points. Okay, now if you have not understood about adding or subtracting decimals, there's a video completely on how to subtract and add decimals. You can go and watch, or I will leave the link above in the iCard. You can click that and watch the video. Okay, so the question says n minus the 3.2 equals 5.6. What's the thing we need to do to find the value of n? Keep n alone. So you remember this, to find the value of a variable, keep it alone. Okay, just think that n has done something naughty. It has done something bad, so it's getting punished. Okay, so keep n alone. Keep n in the naughty corner. We don't want n. So what do? We move the number which is with n to the other side. So n and negative 3.2 are friends, right? But because n has done something naughty, we are keeping n alone and moving the friend to the other side, to another class. Okay, so n minus 3.2. So negative 3.2 will become the inverse of negative 3.2, will be plus 3.2 or positive 3.2. So n is equal to 5.6 plus 3.2. So n is equal to 8.8. 6 plus 2 is 8. 5 plus 3 is 2. So put the decimal right under decimal. It's going to be 8.8. Okay, now the next one is the checking step. To check, what do you need to do? Draw a straight line, a standing line, write the question up. Okay, now what are we going to do? The value which we found for y, okay, this should be y. The value which we found for y, we are going to substitute or put that in place of y. So what's the value of y? We got 8.8. So let's see, 8.8 minus 3.2 should give us 5.6. As the other side of the equation, we already have 5.6. Now 8.8 minus 3.2. 8 minus 2 will give you a 6. 8 minus 3 will give you a 5. So you place the decimal right under it. So your answer is going to be 5.6. That means, what does that mean? That means that our answer is correct. If you don't get 5.6, you need to go back and check your steps. Okay, so something you would have done wrong in the steps, or maybe when you're changing, you forgot to change the sign. So you need to check your steps if these two sides of the equation are not equal. So this was your lesson for today. Now hopefully you have understood. Before we end the lesson, now as I always say, this is the only key to learn math. Practice, practice, practice. Keep doing math. You will love math once you start keep doing. That means you need to practice well. So we will meet again in another video. Keep studying and keep practicing.